Praise to you, O Christ. So this is an unusual day. We have at least 3 families home with COVID today, and a few others on vacation, which means that Emmett, you're our only child here today, but I'm not going to make you come up by yourself because I had a thing I'd planned, but it was going to take more than 2 people. I had a thing that was going to take all the kids, and this is the first time that we don't have all the kids here, ever, as far as I'm aware. So please do pray for all these families that have COVID right now, because like I said, I know at least 3 families that are home right now today with COVID, so please, it's going around, and keep them in your prayers and be safe yourself. But I do want to, you tell me if this is going to work, okay? Emmett, you tell me if this is going to work. What I was going to do with the kids, and you need like at least 4 people to do this, was there's a thing called the magic levitating pole. And the idea is you have everyone in the group put their fingers underneath this pole. And when you get like 8, 12 fingers on here, and the goal is to lower it to the floor, okay? And what happens, this always happens, what happens is as you're trying to lower it to the floor, the pole starts going like this. And everyone's like, I'm not lifting it. Who's lifting it? No one's lifting it, but the pole will go up, and it's the hardest thing to get it to the floor. So we were going to concentrate on this task, and while we were concentrating on this task, I was going to have Tom or someone else like that come on up with his shoes untied. And I was going to ask Tom to come on up and ask for help getting his shoes tied. He doesn't know, you don't have to come up now. He doesn't know, I didn't tell him in advance, which is why I can't make all this work. I was going to have him come up and have his shoes untied, and then I was going to keep the kids focused on making this pole go down, making sure that the pole goes down. And Tom was going to come up and ask for help to get his shoes untied. And I was going to see if I could keep the kids focused on the pole and not helping Tom. That was my goal, to see if I was going to be kind of a little maniacal there. With the idea, there was a study at a seminary once. And I think I mentioned this maybe a year or 2 ago in one of my sermons, where during the study at the seminary, it was a day in their gospel class that they were teaching about the Good Samaritan story, which is a story that we heard last Sunday. And after class, there was 2 classes that day, and they knew that there were students coming from that class. They knew where most of the students were going next, which class they're going to next. So after one of the classes, the professor intentionally held all the students late by 15 minutes. And there was only a 15-minute space between the 2 classes, so they were late, so they would have to run to the next class to get there still late. So they were all in a rush at this point. And halfway between the first class and second class, they intentionally placed someone on the sidewalk who needed help. And this first class I was running late, absolutely every single person rushed by the person in need of help after they had just learned about the Good Samaritan. The second class, the professor let them out 15 minutes early. And again, put this person on their path between the first class and second class. And about 20 to 30% of the students stopped to see if this person needed help. When we're busy, whether it's trying to keep something floating in the air or rushing from one class to another, we're not likely to help other people. And I got to wonder today as I read this story comes right after that Good Samaritan story, and I got to wonder, what is keeping Martha so busy? Sometimes we assume we know what's keeping her busy. I mean, she's got Jesus and the 12 disciples, possibly more, visiting her house. I mean, if you suddenly had all those guests, wouldn't you be busy too? I mean, this is a hospitality at that time. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is you get some water, and then you got to wash all their feet because all their feet are dirty, of course, so this is the dusty desert. So you got to wash all their feet like we do the foot washing on Monday, Thursday, and that's going to take a couple buckets of clean water, right? Because you get a couple feet, that water's going to be gross. And so you got to wash all their feet, and then you've got to go and you've got to make all that food for all these people and get the table ready and get everything put in the right place, right? Though I know from my own experience growing up that often we get busy with a lot of other things too. Like, I just have guests over and I didn't get the mantle dusted yet. I need to get the mantle dusted because they're going to notice all the dust on the mantle. And I need to get all the stuff shoved into my bedroom and then close the door and lock it so no one can see what's going on in there. And everything else in the house I don't have time to clean up. I'm going to also take that up and shove it into my bedroom so no one sees what's going on. And you imagine all the busyness that people get into when they have company. And I don't know if Martha was busy doing the good things or doing the other things that she thought were important but maybe aren't. It doesn't say, it doesn't even matter. Whatever's keeping her busy is making it so she doesn't have time to notice her company. She's so busy, she doesn't have time to sit down and spend with Jesus. Now, I'd say maybe that's not all her fault. It's probably also the rest of the company not getting up and saying, can we help, right? But I think about when I'm busy. About a month ago, we had our annual meeting. And at the annual meeting, I get busy, right? Like I got things to do. And part of the busyness I had at the annual meeting was I had to get the computer set up so the people who were joining us online could participate as well. And that day at our annual meeting, we had some guests at worship, and they were sitting over in that back corner. I'm like, I need to go say hi to the guests that we have, but I have to get us ready for our annual meeting. And I'm sitting here going, I'm too busy to be a neighbor to the people who are visiting us. And I felt really bad about that. I was so busy, I couldn't attend to the people who were visiting us. Other times, I'm busy just because I'm focused on something, that I get focused on the thing that I'm doing. And when this happens particularly when I'm driving. I am focused on driving. I've got to get from point A to point B. And if I see someone in need, I will not slow down for a second because I am too busy getting from point A to point B. Or I have noticed just how busy I am. And it's not even business, but it's busyness. I am busy listening to music or podcasts or watching TV or playing on my computer or staring at some other screen for some other reason. I am so busy these days that I feel like I have less time for God now than I did when I was 18 in high school and my school day went from 5:30 in the morning until 10 at night. And somehow I feel more busy now because I am always paying attention to something else. What keeps you busy? I know this was a feeling as people came out of the pandemic, that they had filled their lives with all this new stuff in the pandemic, and then they tried to fill their lives with all their old stuff as well, and suddenly they were like twice as busy as they'd ever been ever. What keeps you busy? What keeps you focused on your things? What keeps you so focused on inside the circle that you can't see what's going on outside of it? Busyness seems to keep us from faith. When we are busy, like last week with the priest and Levite, we don't notice our neighbors. And when we are busy, like this week with Martha, we don't have time for God. When we are busy, we fall down on those primary commands that Jesus said. Love neighbor, love God, right? Love neighbor, love God. And when we are busy, those things fall away. And so I wonder today, where is God in the midst of all of our busyness? Because when I am really busy, those are the times that maybe I need God the most, right? Those times when I am so busy, I'm wondering, where is God in all that business? And maybe it's the sound of our conscience saying, slow down. You know, Luther said, never ignore your conscience. Though I wonder, maybe it's the sound of someone who comes up and says, can I help? The sound of someone being a neighbor to us in our busyness. Or maybe it's the sound of your spouse saying, you know, I need some more you time with me, okay? You need to make sure that you set aside some of that time for me. And we hear that voice, and it's really the voice of the Spirit saying, you know, take a moment to love the neighbor I gave you to be your partner. Or maybe it's the sound of the voice of someone looking for gas money. In the middle of a staff meeting, did you notice this last week? In the middle of a staff meeting, and I get this phone call, and we're doing some really good work, and I want to focus on this staff meeting, and I get a phone call, and I'm like, I want to ignore the phone call because we're busy in the staff meeting. But I pick up the phone, and it's someone saying, hey, I need some help. I need some gas money. I can't make it to where I need to go. Can you help me out? And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, I'm busy right now. I'm busy. And I say, you know what? If you stop by the church, I can get you a 10. And so the person stops by the church, and then when they stop by the church, we're in the middle of an even better conversation going on. Like, the staff meeting was really going well, and I'm like, I don't want to leave this. But they're at the door now, and I need to go help. And maybe that was the voice of the Spirit saying to me, the work that you're doing right here, it starts by helping that person over there. Or maybe it is the sound of those millions of voices of justice and injustice that are crying out right now. And that's really the Spirit saying, you know what? There is a reason for you to be busy today. If you're going to be busy, at least be busy with this thing that I have for you, because you have neighbors who are in need right now, and they are crying out for help. And guess what? I placed you all in a democracy where you have the role and the power of caring for your neighbors in a way that most other parts of the world don't. But then again, maybe I'm wrong about all those guesses. Because I was listening to the first reading, and the first reading, I love this line that Paul says. Paul says, you who were once estranged and hostile of mind, doing evil things, you who were once very busy, Christ has now reconciled his fleshy body through death so as to present you holy and blameless before God. I wonder if maybe the place Christ is when we're busy is right beside us. Christ is right there saying, let go of your busyness and put it on me, and I will take up your cross so that you may have rest. Maybe Christ is right there saying, I've got this. Take a break so that you can enjoy the presence of your neighbor. Take a break from all those things you think you need to be doing right now so that you can enjoy the presence of the people I've put in your life. Maybe Christ is that voice in our head saying, peace. Peace be with you. Breathe in the breath of God and be at peace for once. Take all those things that are making you busy and say, today I'm going to let go of them as best as I can. And I'm going to trust all that busyness to Christ so that I can be busy loving my neighbor. Jesus said there are two things that are needed. Love God, love neighbor. Both take making time to look beyond myself. And I think Christ is that time. Christ is that time when I am free to love others. But even when I'm busy, I know God is still working. That's what we say, right? God's work, our hands. Even when I'm busy, I know God is still working. And so I suppose the question becomes, when I'm busy, are these hands doing God's work? Amen.